So, is teen pregnancy really a problem in American society? Yes. The CDC seems to think so. In 2010, the latest available cost results, pregnancy was estimated to cost the nation $9.4 billion to US taxpayers a year. Now, only 50% of teens who have given birth finish high school by the time they are 22, compared to the rate of 90% of young women who are of the same age who have not had a baby. Unfortunately, evidence shows us that children of teen mums do not have a great life. Although this main part is about the mothers, it is also important to look at the welfare of the children once they are birthed. These babies are more likely to have lower achievement levels in school, have more health problems, they are more likely to spend time in prison, have a child themselves as a teenager, and face a higher rate of unemployment than others of the same age group that they are in. Teenagers, those aged between 13 and 19 years old, have a higher risk of problems during pregnancy than those women who are 20 or older, due to their bodies and brains not being fully developed yet. A teenager's brain is not fully developed until they're an adult, so they cannot be expected to make logical, well-thought-out choices, which includes having unprotected sex, which can cause teenage girls to become pregnant. Studies have revealed that many teenagers lack the ability to think and plan due to their lack of working memory, so are far more likely to engage in risky behaviours such as unprotected sex than those teenagers who have more developed working memory. And self-control also comes into play here. Teenagers do not have very good self-control. As you age, you get better self-control. But as teenagers, most do not have very good self-control. A lot of teenage girls suffer from anemia, as their immature body is unable to produce enough iron. Iron is needed to support both the baby and the teenager. Anemia causes lack of energy and a great amount of fatigue. And adolescent bones, teeth, and muscles are also not fully formed at this age until the adult individual has reached adulthood. So when a teenager girl is pregnant, the baby puts a lot of stress on these developing bones and muscles. The teenager's brain is also underdeveloped at this stage. But did you know that when a woman is pregnant, she loses up to 8% of her regular brain matter? So imagine that, a teenager with an undeveloped brain and losing an extra 8% of their brain matter. How can they go to school? How can they complete tasks? How can they think? It's a lot to put on a young teenager. He can feel quite hopelessness, I believe. It is not healthy in any way for the teenager or their developing baby. As well as physical difficulties, many teenage girls face emotional difficulties. And when pregnant, that emotional difficulties just double or triple or quadruple. Imagine still being at school, still relying on your parents for income, being in a new relationship with another young person who's the same age. What's the future? What's the future for your child? It can seem very, very daunting. And with that, depression can set in, stress, anxiety. And none of these are good for an unborn child. None of these are good for a born child either. But for a pregnant woman can make him sick, the baby sick. And it can cause problems with the birth, with the child. So emotionally, it can also affect the child and the mother physically. All the emotional stress that's associated with being young, unexperienced, not knowing what's going to come next in life. So what are some of the risk factors that a young girl may face And why would she get pregnant? The first that I'm going to address is cognitive. Uncertain attitudes towards sex and childbearing, perceived vulnerability to pregnancy, or invulnerability. I can't get pregnant. There's no way I could get pregnant. A lack of contraceptive knowledge. I don't know, I'll be fine. Perceived parental disapproval of parental birth control, and a low educational and occupational expectations. The second one relates to relationships. Bad relationship characteristics, such as being in a relationship with a violent romantic partner, dating older boyfriends, high levels of seriousness with boyfriends, and difficulty negotiating the use of birth control with a partner. Environmental factors that can influence if a girl gets pregnant or not. Low socioeconomic status, single-parent families, family violence, having an older sexually active sibling, having a mother with low education levels, a lack of support, understanding, and supervision from the family. Early dating, unacceptable early dating, and low perceived support from parents and peers. All of these factors can add up to why a young girl would choose to get pregnant or does become pregnant. It's not a guarantee that any of these will be a factor, but it's certainly a high likely that there will be a chance of using some of these, if not all of these. Is sexual abuse related to pregnancy? Unfortunately, many studies that have been done confirm that there is a definite link. There's no certainty, but there is a higher probability of a young adolescent who has been sexually abused becoming pregnant as a teen. Why? Why is that, you may ask? Often it is because the sexual abuse has basically ruined the child's innocence. And to survive, they've had to make cognitive, emotional, and social adjustments to fit in with the world and to continue their life, which often causes distortions in appropriate behavior and compulsivity to fulfill their desires of being wanted and loved. Many studies have found that young women who are pregnant, adolescents, obviously are gaining weight, and that goes against social norms of being fitting in and everything else. The dieting can be a problem. Teenagers may feel uncomfortable with the way their body looks and how they feel. So they may turn to dieting, and dieting is not the right choice when you're pregnant. Skipping meals, taking dietary pills, doing extra exercise out of the abnormal, taking natural remedies, cleaning the system out. These are all very unhealthy, both to the mother and to the baby. Unfortunately, healthy, nutritious food is often expensive and out of the reach of a lot of people in the category of low socioeconomic backgrounds that are more likely to get pregnant and be in situations where they don't have the support of their family and loved ones. So they are vulnerable not to be able to get the food and nutrition that they need to keep themselves and their baby healthy. Freud, as we all know, was about the development of children through the psychosexual stages. In 1931, he wrote about how pregnancy was a form of self-gratification to the woman, and so no evidence of pregnancy causing any form of conflict. Freud further described maternity, or pregnancy in this case, as a calm period where the woman or the teenager would be at peace with themselves as they have filled their desire. Now, in Piaget's theory on cognitive development, once young people reach early adolescence, they begin to conduct hypothetical conductive reasoning, or what Piaget described as formal operations, which in theory sounds good. Idealistically thinking about the future could be a good way to start a life. But when it involves such thing as becoming pregnant and having a baby, hypothetical could soon become a reality. Having a beautiful baby cooing up at you, holding this joy in your arms may sound perfect, but the reality of lack of sleep, constant diaper changing, the huge amounts of money, the feedings, and the constant attention demands soon wipe out any of these idealistic concepts. According to the Urban Child Institute, adolescent parenting is one of the major risk factors associated with early childhood development. In addition to its other effects, teen parenting is likely to hinder a child's social and emotional well-being. Studies in early childhood development find that adolescent mothers 19 years of age and younger are less likely than older mothers to engage in emotionally supportive and responsive parenting. When a baby is born to a teenage mother, he is likely to have more difficulty acquiring cognitive and language skills, as well as social and emotional skills like self-control and self-confidence. These abilities are already developing in infancy, and they are essential skills necessary for school readiness. Studies have shown that adolescent mothers tend to have less knowledge of child development and effective parenting, and often misjudge their infants' or toddlers' ability to adapt and learn, and often do not put in the time that is needed to help their toddler grow and learn. As you may have noticed in my presentation, most of the information that I've included is negative. It's certainly not positive. It is based on stereotypical studies of what teen parents are like. But not every teenager is like that. Not every teen parent is like that. Some are very motivated. They find out they're pregnant and okay, it's thrown their life for a curveball, but hey, they can work through it. They can study, they have support of their family and friends, they can get a job, they have childcare, they have support, and they can be great role models for their babies and their kids as they grow up. And their kids may have teenage babies when they're teenagers too. But you know what? That's okay. As long as they're happy and they're healthy. And really, is it up to us to judge everybody? I don't think so.